I'm refreshing at this end. Yep. Don't. Are you going to sync that at the same time as your Facebook? So I'm not seeing any live pre-show on Facebook for you. Because normally it'll be they put a live placeholder until the show actually starts streaming. The only good thing with bringing me on for a test is that I'll just jump into whatever topic comes up. That's way too complicated. OBS, I just go, here's the key, go. I don't even bother with the link, any of the other links. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Simulcast on the Facebook. Yeah, their system is really clunky. Not as bad as Spreaker. Spreaker is so freaking outdated. Like Spreaker is closer to a Windows 95 interface. And it's okay if I mute my mic for the whole show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. No, I'm looking at your front page, and normally there's a live placeholder when you're going to go live. Well, as soon as you create an event, you have to get an event for it to be able to go live. If you don't create an event, doesn't matter what software you're using, you can't go live. If you haven't an event, then all it has is a placeholder, and it's still waiting for all the other information. It might say that it sent the text out that you're going live, but that's probably because you have the send a notification when I'm going to go live out to everyone in my contacts. Until you create an event for it to go to. Did you set it for public view? You can see yourself because you're looking at your control room preview. Okay, unless I'm on the wrong channel. See, you don't even have a friendly URL name for your YouTube channel yet, which is something you should do. Okay. I'm just on the regular regulator watch that has 3,521 subscribers. I'm on that front page. You've got Moral Panic on the top. Then you have your feature coverage. But I don't see any. Oh, okay. I see it. It's on my screen. For some reason, it's got it sorted way, way down below. Yeah, basically you've got feature coverage, vaping just science, energy and resources, vaping legal and legislative, finances and insurance, vaping efficacy and action, SOKI, Senate hearings on vaping regs. Then you have live now. And guess what? You are live. You actually are live right now. There, I see the regulator watch intro now. By the way, for everyone listening in, Brent's still testing out the system. That's why you'll hear all this banter going back and forth. He's not ignoring you. He's still testing out the system to get us started. Actually, I don't even see a chat. Oh, you've disabled chat for this stream. See, Brent is a bad boy. Brent disabled the chat on you guys. He doesn't like you anymore. You'd have to do that through your control room. I don't know if you can do it once the stream started or if it has to restart. But at the top it says chat is disabled for this live stream. He doesn't like you. He's lying. See, it's always funny because this is what Dimitri does when he does Phil's Smoker Show with him. Is he's always got the setup banter going on beforehand, and it's about 10 minutes in. Then okay, let's start the show now. which is not good. Not good for replays. So we can see without that, because I can't see people laughing at you. I'll try refreshing too and see if it comes up. No, for me it says it's still disabled. Chat is disabled for this live stream. Oh, you need that on. I want to hear. I want to see people mock you in chat. Oh, I also just got a Facebook message saying that they can't hear you at all.
Yeah, that's because that's not on. There you go. They can hear me now. So
okay. You can hear Brent panicking.
Yeah, I can. Oh, I'm not panicking, man. So look, I might as well make sure that Facebook is on. Go live.
By the way, thank you, Joshua, for sending a message so I can pass it on to him. Much appreciated.
And go live. Those are the Facebook ones.
Well, I just refreshed YouTube again. It still says chat is disabled.
Okay, give me a sec here. Details.
By the way, everyone listening, when Brent finally gets this running today,
got it.
Make sure you laugh at him extensively in chat.
You're overestimating the enmity my viewers have for me, Bill. Okay, now that.
Okay, I just refreshed, and it says chat is disabled for this live stream.
Try one more.
I'll refresh again. Actually, I'll do a Control F5 refresh. Do a hard refresh, and there we go.
It should be on now.
Yep, it's there.
Yeah. So the key question is anybody actually gonna actually chat? There's Bill. All right. Well, great. So I'm
and Josh says he can hear you now, which is good.
Talking to you over Skype, and I'm also chatting with you, Bill, over.
I was also saying that your audio was dead, and so is the chat. Okay, Paul, that should all be working now.
Well, we talk long enough. Well, the show is starting now officially. The burst has happened.
Okay, well, we reached our half-hour limit, so we shall talk to everyone later, and thank you for tuning in. And
so, Bill, we are going. We are started. I'm hoping that Facebook has started too. For those of you out there, we're doing again, the technical stuff, but actually things should be a lot better. Some things that you may or may not notice. The fact is that I should not be crackling anymore. And some back-end stuff, which is just critically important in our suite that we've got fixed up. And ooh, now I know what needs to happen. It's going to be, the last will be getting all of our bells and whistles going for the suite. But we've got a whole section and area off the back here that you guys don't see, which is our Skype box. And I tried to not spend $7,000 on a piece of broadcast gear to get done what I needed to get done. I built it myself. Still cost me like $4 or $5. But anyhow, that being said, that guy over there allows us to do some of our interviews in a much more efficient way for the ones that we capture, like RegWatch always does, to tape and then do the editing and stuff after. Huge piece of gear. It's likely no one's going to notice, right? If we do our job right, you won't even notice that this new stuff has been installed. But yet, it is a part of this whole system too as well, because it allows us to not have to rely on any computer system at all to capture our live interviews too. So when we have an interview subject like Bill here, who we know is going to say a bunch of really obnoxious things that we're going to want to hold against him in the future years, that we've got the Skype box over there rolling on that in an ISO roll so we can do whatever we want with it after, and that's really what's going on. Bill Tarling, how are you, sir?
Doing well, and glad you got everything worked out.
Well, thank you.
I know it's been a fun battle for you.
And your help has been definitely most appreciated. Let's cross our fingers there was some stuff that we couldn't talk about in our sit down in Ottawa. I had full crew, 3 cameras, and we're sitting there with the Director General, and it was a bit of a stilted conversation because there was this huge major announcement coming out the very next day. So what we did was we agreed that we were going to do a phone interview, which we did today, a phoner, which was fantastic, and we got a lot more in-depth details about the consultation, about why they're going, in certain areas, and some insight on what might happen over the next couple of months. All of that coverage is going to be out Tuesday or Wednesday next week, so I've got to work my magic on that. So I thought I'd bring Bill on right now, for one, because he's always on top of everything, and 2, well, I wanted to get something live out. Bill, you've been following this. What are your first thoughts on the vaping consultation and report that came out?
It may not seem like it's such a big deal for a lot of people. Oh, it's just a consultation. They want public input. Not if you read it closely, and not if you look at the track record of both Health Canada, the FDA, and so forth. All the health branches for the government, they tend to have the consultations because legally they have to, but they don't have to do anything with it. But what is scary about it is, now, first of all, the consultations only open, you can mail them, call them, whatever, is from April 11th. So that was yesterday until May 25th, 2019. They say they want to engage with academics, non-governmental organizations, provincial and territorial governments, and healthcare providers, and all the health branches for the government. They tend to have the consultations because legally they have to, but they don't have to do anything with it. But what is scary about it is,
hold on.
Now, first of all, the consultations only open. I think you got a video playback. You can mail them, call them, whatever.
Sorry about that, everyone.
No problem. What was really funny was I'm going, boy, my voice really sounds weird there.
Yeah.
Organizations, provincial and territorial governments, healthcare providers playing again.
That's operator error for sure. That's my fault right there. All right, hold on. Let me just make sure that we are okay with that. Yes, we are okay with that. Bill, please continue.
Okay. Again, so Health Canada, they want the consultations. We will engage with academics, non-governmental organizations, provincial, territorial governments, healthcare providers, and associations. And that's going to be a killer for us because most of them really need to protect their revenue and are very anti-vaping. Tobacco control experts, domestic and international, and then they say, and the general public, which is where we fall in. By the way, Brent, you do know the definition of an expert, right? X is an unknown quantity, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. That is an expert. Now, what's scary, and here's why I say it may not sound like much, just a consultation, so it's nothing official yet. But again, they legally have to do this. But here are the things that they want to consult about, or get public feedback and from all these groups doesn't necessarily mean they have to listen to any of it. But legally, since they're going to be looking at legislation or passing regulations, they have to cover this. We have prohibiting the manufacture and sale of vaping products with certain flavors or flavor ingredients, and or prohibiting the promotion of certain flavors. Now, when you see certain flavors, a lot of people go, oh, well, that won't affect all of them. In the U.S., basically, a lot of the legislation is going for full flavor bans, except for the one supported by Juul, where they say, yes, we agree, get rid of all flavors, except for, and they put these in the U.S. regulations, except for tobacco and menthol. Right. And you have to remember, who uses tobacco and menthol? Oh, yeah, cigarette companies. So those flavors are going to be protected, but get rid of everything else. So, of course, Juul doesn't care. I mean, they only have a couple of flavors. So when you see that they're looking at prohibiting certain flavors, that is absolutely dangerous. That will immediately eliminate the industry, and people will have to go back to smoking. You cannot survive if you don't have flavors. The other thing I want to look at is, and get this, restricting the concentration and or delivery of nicotine in vaping products. So it's not just the method, but also the level of nicotine in it. So if they decide to say, okay, we're going to make it so that vaping is next to useless for converting people, tough luck. If they want to say, well, we want to restrict it, and so you guys won't be able to use it in the liquids, they'll be able to do that. That is why when they start playing around with the nicotine levels, that is a nightmare for us. Not as bad as the flavors, but yeah, that is a huge nightmare. You can't convert smokers without it.
Right. I've pulled up right now the actual PDF document of,
perfect.
Of the report. So
okay. So there I can go faster, a little faster then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The next thing is...
And give me a page number if you need to.
Okay. Next one is regulating design features. So that's fine. That can be labels and so forth. Restricting online retail access. That might be bad for a lot of places, especially if you're in a remote area and you haven't got access to local vape shops. That's basically where the online stuff's coming from. But otherwise, they can restrict it. There was some restrictions in S5 for online sales, which actually I would like to have seen made one notch stronger and harder. But here they're looking at going into further restrictions from what they've already got. Then you have restricting product packaging, which everybody should be on CCCR 2001 labeling now anyhow. If you aren't, get out of the business. I mean, we've had notice since last year that it has been active. So if you haven't already been on your packaging, get on it now, or actually you should have been on it. But what this also means is that regardless of whatever the package regulations, even if you meet it now, they can change the regulations again. So you might have to go through all the costs and everything and pull off all your old product and replace it all again. So that could become a nightmare. And then they say increasing regulatory transparency and openness with health. Well, that's not going to happen, but that has to be in there to make it look.
That's cynical. That's cynical.
It is cynical because they've basically ignored each time. They did it during S5. The FDA did the same thing with the flavor hearing. Do you realize that? And here's something that's important to realize, and it's because the FDA, all the regulations coming out for Health Canada and all the restrictions that we're starting to hear and the youth epidemic in Canada are actually completely mimicked and being referenced as the FDA's said this is happening, and it's happening in Canada too. The reason that's important is during the flavor hearing, the exact same consultation type thing that the FDA held, Dr. Farsalinos put together a $2 million research study, over 69,000 participants. The reason it cost more was they specifically formatted the entire thing strictly to meet FDA requirements. They also paid to use the FDA software to submit it. During the submission, not once, ever since that went through, has the FDA even acknowledged the study. So they've been able to ignore that, yet they've called on everything from vapors are strictly anecdotal. They are not considered scientific fact. The kids, however, though, are considered scientific fact if they read their scripts. So just because the consultation happens they don't have to really disclose anything. As a matter of fact, they had hid that a number of those entries for the original FDA flavor consultation were from the anti-nicotine and tobacco zealots who had been forging the IPs and submitting multiple ones. And they were caught with over a third of the entries were robot entries.
Well, you know that RegWatch is the news media outlet that broke that story worldwide, yep. Right? So we're very familiar with that. But the last part of that, it would be a bit of a tinfoil hat part that we didn't add to it. But you're right, though. There was definitely some
I should say, say it won't happen. I just say I'm very cautiously, not so optimistic, but I'm very cautious about whether it will happen. That's a little bit better.
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do today for coming on live was just to start to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've heard from Health Canada in our interview. Now, we can't share too much because, for one, that's going to be in our coverage next week. And two, there was a lot of conversation, and we really got to go back through our tape and our transcripts to make sure that we characterize what Health Canada is wanting to tell Canadians through RegWatch coverage, because there was some really good stuff there. And I can say my sense overall, though, at least from talking with the man in charge, is that they're not unsympathetic to the plight of adult vapers. The rhetoric is one that's definitely in support of vaping. However, all options are on the table, is the message when it comes to dealing with the youth use issue. And I certainly let them know that RegWatch, from our position for covering this for 4 years, is one that's a bit skeptical about the youth issue. But let's take for granted that you believe it's true, because we have to work basically now on that assumption. So trying to fight the issue based on whether or not there is or is not a youth vaping crisis, or at least an uptick or an issue, I think is not, from a news point of view, there's no point covering it from that point of view anymore, because that's the de facto fact that's now driving this regulatory process that everybody in the vaping industry in Canada is going to have to deal with. Or
at least it's the claim for it. Because everything I've seen from Health Canada so far has been based on the FDA and the U.S. CDC and the U.S. Surgeon General reports about the, quote, epidemic. Ones who keyed the epidemic to this. But if you actually check the CDC data, the amount of regular youth vape users is, I think it's 0.2%, which doesn't really qualify as an epidemic, but epidemic is a good selling point. And that's how it's being used. And unfortunately, as you say, because that is the claim that's being used, that's what we have to kind of go with as if there was. And we have to kind of work around that, or at least sway public opinion towards understanding that, no, that is not directly the whole story. And that's the problem. We aren't getting the whole story out. We're getting a little selected cherry-picked data that says, vaping bad, this is happening, therefore, blanket coverage.
So let me add to that, because I think this is important. And this is something that I just, early on kind of avoided the reality of this, is that the data is one thing, but the thousands and thousands of parents out there that are finding it a topic that they have to actually deal with their kids at home at the dinner table, that adds up. And so that amount of kind of concern that's happening brings it out from anything from the data. And so no matter what, parents, by the tens of thousands, are having to deal with this issue now at home. And so that's one of the things that sparked the regulator to take this action.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember, too, is with parents, one, it gives them someone to blame. So that's what they're looked at. What they're also being told is vaping, bad. It toxic. It killed kids. Vaping, dangerous. And so that's the message they're getting. And as vapers, we know, okay, let's go try and find out, let's check some of the research, let's find out what sounds logical, what doesn't sound logical. A parent is not going to do that. It would be like saying, they say telephone wires are bad for you because it'll cause whatever, brain damage or cancer, whatever that thing used to be with those electrical towers. and expecting
cell
every
phone
parent to
towers.
go on. Yeah, expect every parent to go out and do a complete scientific research on their own and study. It's not going to happen. So they're going to listen to what the headlines say. And logically, if you're being told by whether it's public health or by government agencies, dangerous, this is happening, you're going to automatically tend to believe what you're being told, as opposed to a group that, but don't they have an investment in that? And so that's where a lot of the misinformation gets hard to kind of sway, especially when we aren't allowed to talk about the comparisons, but they are.
Well, no, and that's true. And I'll have some revealing stuff in our interview. When we were in Ottawa, we talked specifically about the comparisons. And so I'll leave it at that.
I'm anxious for that.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously, that's been something that RegWatch has really had to be in its bonnet over. And so there's some news that will get made out of that. So which is good. And everybody, we're thinking probably it'll be Tuesday, either late Tuesday or Wednesday morning is when our coverage is going to come out. And it'll probably be a good, big half-hour piece covering both sides.
I'm actually really looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Director General James Van Loon is a decent guy. You know, I mean, he's a good, from everything that I got out of him. Yeah, I mean, I think he's genuine and he's honest. So we'll see.
On the large part, I think most of them are. But I think what's happened is because they're being fed that, well, this is from the government department, here's the official stance on things, they take that as, okay, this must be factual, especially when all the other groups keep saying we need everything to be evidence-based, yet the only evidence-based they take are the junk science, which have already been debunked. But when they get this is evidence-based, here is our stance, they go, okay, this must be the fact. They aren't going to go checking up on each other.
Well, fair enough. But I think one thing that everybody, I think, should know by now with this issue is that facts are not truth. That's the key thing. Facts are never supposed to be truth. They're facts. They are little nuggets of meaning, but they're not necessarily created in an objective kitchen. You know, they're cooked up in a cauldron of politics, and so are stats too as well, right? So I think that in a lot of cases, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that because you know I've got a lot more to say about that. But there's obviously something political that's going on here that's happening on a visceral political level that that obviously drives a lot of the animosity towards vaping from a very strong group of special interest people that are not pharmaceuticals. They're not big tobacco. They're very powerful, and they've got a lot of influence, mostly with progressive governments. And when a progressive government is in tune to that and there is an election looming, well, then there's going to be an increase in reaction and wanting to placate some of that concern. And so I'm certain that's got something to do with this.
I don't know if you can give a little hint. One thing I'm curious about, did you discuss nicotine itself at all?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be tuning. By the way, people, I have no idea what's in the interview either, so I have to wait just like you guys.
Well, the nicotine stuff, certainly. I mean, we discussed the addiction issue. We discussed the nicotine salt issue, the general issue of how much nicotine. So that was definitely we definitely talked about that.
Yeah.
But,
like I said, I'm anxious
if you
here.
push me on if you push me on a few topics, you never know. I might let a few things slip. But well, I wanted to ask you this: is there in your mind any give that, actually I was going to ask you about nicotine. That was the one. Is there a give, do you think, that the industry and the community of vapors could give on nicotine? So knowing that the two issues are the salt and the amount of.
Okay.
What would you think?
Okay. Well, like I said, I haven't got into a lot of detail on it, but I can see where a 50 salt nic is extremely high. I mean, that's 5%, where you figure when most of us started, even with the regular e-liquid nicotine, the diluted liquid nicotine, high was 1.8 to 2.4%. So 50% is high, especially when there are some devices where they don't even sell anything but they only sell like 50, 20, and that's it. There is no other lower option. So I think there is a cap there. I'm not completely against salt nicks because I know it does help a lot of people, but I don't think we need the 50s. And I think it should be any high quantity like that should probably be to restricted shops, not just buy off the shelf off any corner store. At the same time, I actually go against that, and I can explain that later if you want with Juul, because I hate Juul, but I'm not against it. There is a place for them.
Well, that was my exact question, was going to be, what do you think of Juul, and are they to blame?
Okay. Are Juul to blame? Partially. They were the setup that would take us down, create all these issues. They actually weren't doing much of anything until the campaign for tobacco-free kids and the FDA started promoting them as, oh, this is a danger item that kids might start getting, and kids are going to start using this. Kids are going to start using that. Prior to that, Juul wasn't really even visible. But they were getting so much promotion of kids, beware of the Juul, that they gave so much advertising that the kids went, ooh, we got to have it. And so that was actually, that quote epidemic was intentionally created at that end. Now, I don't use Juul because almost all my liquids are zero nic. I've got a couple that do have nic if the flavor's not available in a zero, but so I can get by with zeros. But a high nic like that, that's only going out for there. Yeah, once that starts getting out there, there is potential for addiction, especially when you're at a high concentration and you have no other option down. Now, am I against Juul? Yes, for what they've done. Are they to blame? Very, very much, in that something most people don't realize. This association with Altria buying the portion, well, first of all, it's not new, because this isn't the first thing that the founders had actually sold to Big Tobacco in e-cig form. They sold the previous device, so now they know, okay, here's what we need to set up and market in order to get a bigger offer for the next time, which is why they kept holding off of the Juul and holding off. It was like, well, we'll offer you $2 billion, $5 billion, $8 billion, and then suddenly it was $35 billion. That's why. They already knew exactly what was needed to market it. And what does a tobacco company want? They want, and they've been saying this since the 50s, when they found out that nicotine by itself wasn't addictive enough, they brought in the chemists, the boosters, but they needed that teen market in order to have future smokers. So that whole thing, this was not a random, oh, Big Tobacco likes our product, good paycheck. Okay, yeah, we'll sell it. No, it was all pre-planned. Now, there is a place for the Juul. Now, if the kids want the flavors, and supposedly all the kids be
Well, now, and that seems to be something
too
that
logical.
other people have said that, right?
Yeah.
Just, I get a sense that there's a huge swath in the vaping community in Canada that are just going, man, if we could only just roll time back 9 months.
You need to roll it back 4 years. Kept waiting for it, and you have to understand the vapor attitude. There have been warnings throughout all these years that these regulations are coming out. So panic is sky's falling, sky's falling. Oh, the regulations are out, and oh,
Well, Bill,
nothing
that's
happened.
not so.
Business
That's
as
not
usual.
I'm sending to YouTube.
And so that's why I think everybody should use Saran wrap. Oh, I see. We're back. Yeah, I see you live now. There's your long shot.
Okay, do you see that on YouTube?
Yep.
Okay, I don't see it yet on YouTube. I don't even see it yet in my dashboard. So that's very interesting that, well, this is why this is a test, right? This was why keep doing these test streams, man. So that was the same problem that showed up. Okay, we've got audio again. So we are back up with audio.
Okay. Okay. So we're back up the audio now?
Yeah, we're back up with audio now. But it's okay. likely to go out again. Everyone, hold on for a second, Bill. So for all of our viewers out there, thank you so much for your patience on this. This is certainly part of the reason why we're still doing these very haphazard test streams, because there's little glitches around in the whole system. We obviously are not running, a standard, regular old streaming setup here. I've got professional broadcast standards that impact all of our tape work that we've done for years. And there was no way that I was going to be able to do something that wasn't going to be able to deliver the same look and feel as our regular stuff. And it just to do that live, to keep our same look and feel and everything else, obviously means a lot of gear, a lot of setup, a lot of money, and trying to keep the dollars low. So it literally was $30,000 TriCaster system. And every time I watch Joe Rogan and he's bitching and complaining about TriCaster at the start, like every single time he's like, the TriCaster is the reason, one of the reasons, besides I don't have 30 grand to just dump on that. But so, I mean, we haven't skimped on what our system is, but there are certain places where little gremlins pop up, and this thing is the last one, and this audio thing where it just dumps out during the middle of a live stream. All right, so Bill, here's what I'd like to do, because I want to wrap this up. I want to ask people on YouTube to send a couple of questions for me, but you're sending them to Bill. So Bill, eye on the chat.
Okay, I'll read the chat.
Yeah, find a couple of questions, because there's got to be some stuff that our viewers would like me to answer, whether that's in regard to vaping, in regards to RegWatch, or if I have a dog, which I don't. I like dogs, but I don't have a dog.
Oh, by the way, quick comment too. When Brent was going through all the tech thing, trying to reboot, what was funny, and unfortunately the audio wasn't there, because I waited till the stream actually started up again, and I jumped in with a random comment of, and that's why I believe saran wrap should be used every day. just make people go, what the hell did I miss? And for those who don't know, the reason Brent brings me on for these test streams is because he knows I will ramble on and won't shut up, and he can play around with all the cables. So that's why all the rambling. So my apologies to everyone for all that.
Well, no, you just rambled. It's nice to have an excuse, but you do it anyhow.
True. I can't argue with that.
No, that's great. No, Bill, you've been a huge help with all of this.
Okay, Chain Vapor is one of my vaping on. That is one of my favorite devices. I still use it every day. It's my Indican. I taste 134 from years and years back. And I've got the Zenith tank on it. And get this, a whopping high-powered 12.5 watts, which is the maximum the old Indican uses. 5 years old, it still vapes great, and I still use it every single day. And yeah, that's what I'm vaping on.
Wow. That's an old vape.
I've also got my, I also still use this every day. The old MVP 2 with the iClear 30. I still love the old mouth-to-lung stuff. It works great and doesn't go through as much juice. E-liquid. So
I call it juice, man.
Let's see, what else? Yes, watching. Any questions for Brent about what's coming up or anything else? Brent, what color underwear? Oh wait, no, never mind. That's from your porn channel.
Bill. Bill.
I gotta tease you with everything today. Let's see. Any questions? No.
No,
So
that's okay.
So if you see Brent pop up with an impromptu guest and it's me, chances are it's going to be a test stream, so expect a lot of.
Well, there's always good things. Look, that was the only hiccup, at least outside of you and me not knowing what the hell we're doing. But that was the only hiccup, and so that's okay. It's not a small one though. It's like the last of the ones to try to figure out exactly what that is.
So since I don't know where things got cut off, Jewel, there's a place for it. C-stores, gas stations, so on. I'd love to see it because that's people might go there and try and say, "Oh, this vape thing doesn't seem as dangerous as I've heard in the media," and might go, "What do you vape shops? I hear you have better stuff. What do you have?" So that we might be able to piggyback off them. Vape shops, no, I'm not a fan. Nicotine, yeah, it does need to be brought down at least to a reasonable level, but vape shops need protection. And unfortunately, we keep getting lumped in with Juul. And in all the U.S. hearings, and you'll find the same things happening right now in PEI. They started it, and they've started it in Alberta now as well. They're saying kids are using Juuls, therefore vaping must be banned. Juul is one independent company that the vape industry has no legal authority or jurisdiction over. Yet we're the ones being blamed for it.
And the entire community needs to deal with the reality that there is a consultation process now happening. The other shoe has dropped. So it's not just the advertising and promotion.
Reminder, it's April 11th to May 25th is the deadline for getting your consultation in. And what I'll do is, I don't know if it'll let me put the link in the chat. I'll see if it will. And nope, it's not going to let me do it. Maybe it'll let you put the... or you can put it in the description afterwards.
I'll put it in the description after. Okay. All right, Bill. So thanks, man. Thank you very much for your help today. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. Have yourself a hell of a great weekend. For those of you that are planning on putting submissions in on this consultation, get on it. For those of you who aren't planning, do. And I suggest everybody take advantage of getting politically active on this issue. That's it. Thanks a lot.